Charlie Kirk, may you rest in peace. Before his life got cut short by an assassination, he was the co-founder of the American Conservative student organization, Turning Point USA. He's also a big ally of President Donald Trump and one of the most prominent voices of the Make America Great Again movement, or the MAGA movement within the Republican Party. Now, it's been a couple of months since his assassination in September 2025. His legacy, the good, the bad, and the ugly, have yet to be finalized. Just saying. Now, people are still finding out what kind of person he was in his 31 years on this earth. Now, from Nicey Social, the host in Charlie Kirk's story keeps getting bigger. So, it seems like people are still trying to finalize his life on this earth even after 9 months after his untimely death. So, let's see what Nicey have to say about Charlie Kirk's death.
It's been months since Charlie Kirk's life was taken at UVU, and the story continues to keep audiences captivated, not only because of the tragedy many of us witnessed, but also because so many intricate details raise more questions than answers. And months later, many of us are still noticing details that seem to paint the picture that the narrative we are being told by law enforcement may not be the whole story. As I was looking back over the case, I once again stumbled upon a detail that I think needs to be addressed. Many people online believe that Charlie was betrayed by those closest to him, and what I noticed may support that theory. Hello everyone, if you're a new viewer, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. If this is your second, third, or fourth time watching one of my videos and you're not yet subscribed, we already go together. Okay, make it official and hit that subscribe button. In today's video, I have 4 separate things that I want to address, all pertaining to the Charlie Kirk case. Daniel Morrell, the owner of Hardscape Utah, came forward and gave his side of the story in a podcast. For those of you who don't remember, Hardscape Utah is the company which paved over the crime scene days after the shooting, and what Daniel had to say was pretty interesting. The Daily Mail came forward and said that they saw a tape where Charlie Kirk appoints Erika to be his successor, and I found an old clip from an event that Charlie Kirk did that, in my opinion, disproves the idea that he would have said what the Daily Mail and the people at TPUSA are claiming that Charlie Kirk said. I also want to address some things that don't sit well with me from September 9th, the day before the campus event. And lastly, I want to address what I mentioned in the intro. There is a huge detail that has been looking all of us in our faces this whole time, but I haven't seen it be widely discussed. There are still people who are calling all of us crazy for even questioning that there was a larger conspiracy behind what happened to Charlie Kirk, but I think this detail further supports the theory that this was a well-orchestrated hit, not simply a cross-eyed furry kid with imperfect eyesight, but perfect again aim. But before I get into all of that, I do first want to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, the Wellness Company. What if a sore throat and fever...
I don't want peace. I want problems, always.
Alright, that was an ad plug. I skipped that about a minute and a half. So, let's continue on.
Getting into today's video, some of you guys may have seen this video that I did where I pointed out the anomalies at UVU the day of Charlie's event, specifically regarding the camera behind Charlie. And when I was researching for that video, I went back and I watched old videos from the American Comeback Tour, and as I was going back and forth in my notes and trying to cross-reference the different campus events, I had to write down like what was written on Charlie's shirt at each event because I kept losing track. All of the shirts that he was wearing were black, and if he wasn't wearing a black shirt, he was wearing a black TPUSA sweater or jacket, and I noticed it at the time that he was always wearing black, but I didn't realize the significance of it. However, Cassia from the Daily Fredo YouTube channel, you guys should check her out if you haven't already, but she was the one who pointed out the significance of it. Charlie wore black majority of the time at these campus events, although on a few occasions he wore dark blue or dark gray, but he consistently wore dark colors. However, the day Charlie was killed, he was wearing white, a color in which you would surely see any stains that fell upon it. And that anomaly in and of itself is significant. What are the odds that the one day he shows up to a campus event wearing white, he gets shot? Based on his past wardrobe, I would say that the odds were very low, and so I asked myself, Who put that shirt on Charlie? Who gave him that shirt to wear? I don't know.
Now that's an interesting question. Like, people want to know the truth, right? It could be a case that this is not as coincidental as people made it seem at first. Many people still want to know the truth of what happened to Charlie Kirk, whether he got assassinated by his political opponents or assassinated by people closest to him. Let's just say people just want to know the truth. And by silencing them or telling them to, don't ask that many questions, will make people ask more questions. Heard of the Streisand effect?
Who gave it to him, but it appears as though it was a very deliberate choice, and I'll explain why I believe that. On the American comeback tour, Charlie not only consistently wore black, but he consistently wore TPUSA merch, which makes sense because by wearing his own merch, he can advertise it and he can boost sales. For example, when Charlie Kirk attended Florida State University on February 28, 2025, he wore a black shirt from his own merch line which said Anti-DEI Pro-Merit. And when he was wearing this shirt, it was already available for sale on the Charlie Kirk merch store. On April 15, 2025, Charlie Kirk's American comeback tour went to Boise State University and he wore his Never Surrender shirt. The shirt is available in white, gray, and black. He wore the black version, and the day he wore it, the shirt was available for sale on the Charlie Kirk website. On April 17th, 2025, the comeback tour went to Washington State University, and Charlie was wearing his Live Free shirt. This shirt is available in black, white, and gray. Charlie wore the black version, and the day he was wearing the shirt, it was available for sale on the Charlie Kirk website. On May 6, 2025, Charlie and Riley Gaines were at San Francisco State University, and Riley Gaines was wearing an XX equals woman shirt, which was available for sale on the TPUSA merch site. The American Lives Matter shirt, same deal. The shirt was available for sale when Charlie Kirk wore it at the campus event. Not an illegal shirt. Once again, it was available for sale on the website at the time that Charlie Kirk wore it at the University of California, Riverside. Fast forward to UVU, and Charlie was wearing the infamous white shirt which said freedom on it. There was no visible TPUSA branding on the shirt that he was wearing, although the version that they sell now has it. And that shirt,
I don't know about you, but maybe what he wore was the quote-unquote first draft of the Freedom shirt before Charlie or whoever's in charge of the merch at Charlie Kirk's merch store decided to add the TPUSA logo to the shirt for the quote-unquote second draft or the final for sale version of the shirt. Maybe there was a TPUSA logo on the shirt Charlie was wearing when he got shot. Just that the camera angle didn't catch that. So yeah, let's continue on.
was not available for sale the day of the UVU event. It wasn't until Charlie was martyred in that shirt that it became available for sale, which makes you wonder if that was the plan the whole time. I'm just speculating. Maybe it's a coincidence that he wore a shirt that wasn't available on the merch site the day that he was wearing it, although that was typically a marketing strategy. Maybe it's a coincidence that it happened like that. Maybe it's a coincidence that Charlie predominantly wore black or other dark colors, but that day he wore white, a color where you would surely see any bloodstains. Maybe, just maybe, it's a coincidence. But also,
I don't believe in coincidences.
And of course, despite supposedly grieving while also having 2 young children to raise, Erika was appointed the CEO of Turning Point USA. And we have all been told that while at a retreat in Aspen back in August of 2025, Charlie Kirk was asked what would happen to TPUSA if he died. And according to the Daily Mail, this was his response, quote, "Some of America's great founder-led organizations," he observed, "had collapsed after their original leader left. His goal at Turning Point USA," he explained, "was to make it vision-led. A lot of my job is not always in the day-to-day details. It's very much vision casting, very much driving success," he said. "We have a great board, and God forbid if something happens, they'll figure it out. I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA. If something happens to me, Erika would do a great job." So,
Like, a part of me is like, if the quote-unquote political movement is successful, there wouldn't be a need for that that for said political movement, right? If America was made quote-unquote great again at some point in the future, then Make America Great Again wouldn't need to be around anymore, Right? Same thing now. If American conservatism is the dominant culture of America, then organizations such as the TPUSA wouldn't need to be around to quote unquote promote American conservatism to future generations. Maybe they might need to be around to preserve American conservatism, but since TPUSA organized themselves around going on the offensive, it's going to be difficult to reorganize themselves around defending their values instead, right? It's a different rule set, it's a different game altogether.
They painted the picture that Charlie Kirk didn't see TPUSA as founder-led, that him being the face of the organization was not the current structure, and because it was vision-led, the board and Erika could easily take the mantle. That's the implication. Well, did you guys know that the day that Charlie Kirk died, he did an interview? Right before he went to UVU, actually, he did an interview about entrepreneurship, and he was specifically asked about a founder being the face of an organization, and on September 10th, this is what he said.
And so when you're trying to build a brand, one of the hardest things for an entrepreneur, and we have not done this successfully yet, is separating the brand from the founder. It's very, very hard. I'm not convinced you have to do that, though. That I think that far too often the experts in the corporate world want to try to separate, and I actually don't think that should happen as much.
So where in that answer did he say that TPUSA was vision-led? Where in that answer did he express confidence that he, as the founder and the face of TPUSA, could easily be replaced?
One of the hardest things for an entrepreneur, and we have not done this successfully yet, is separating the brand from the founder. It's very, very hard.
Editor Nissi here. So I'd actually filmed this video a couple days ago, and as I was editing the video, I saw that the Daily Mail came out with an article where they have finally released the footage. Kinda. Take a look.
Being a Christian makes me a very different woman. Be the woman that your future husband deserves. Be the woman that God wants you to be. You're around people that are pouring into you, that are loving on you, that are a conducive environment for you to be the person that you need to be. This world and this generation needs women who echo the gospel. This world needs women who are marked by the cross. Don't delay the eternal for temporary, and do not sacrifice the sacred for the secular. The most important relationship in your life is the one that you have with your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. His passion was my passion, and now his mission is my mission.
I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens to me. Erika would do a great job.
So instead of just releasing the raw footage, they gave us this propaganda video with all these cutaways of Erika just doing random shit. And then at the very end, we get that little clip.
I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens to me. Erika would do a great job.
And is it just me, or does the audio not fully match up with the lip movements?
I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens to me. I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens to me.
The video is very grainy, it's full of jump cuts, and it doesn't really squash the suspicions that we have, because why not just play the full video? Why not even play the clip from the part where the person asks the question? I actually recorded this video long before this article came out, and I'm just now editing it the same day that the article is being released, and I think everything that I had to say still stands. I still don't believe them. This footage doesn't prove... Anyways, back to the video. They are continuing to try and convince us that this was what Charlie Kirk wanted, that in the event that he died, he wanted Erika to take over the company. And they're trying very aggressively to convince us of this fact, because we are all just turned off by Erika. We're all just turned off by the fact that her immediate reaction was to just take Charlie's place, not go spend time grieving the loss of her husband, not spend time with her kids, but to just step up as the CEO with no hesitation. Back in September, when Frank...
I mean, different people grieves in different ways. Some people, quote unquote, just get over it quickly. Some people may never get over it, right? Or some people can lose someone they love the day before and be back at work the next day without anyone else realizing that they lost someone dear to them. Some people may never be the same after losing someone, right? Given such a wide possible spectrum of quote unquote post-death reaction, there's often no quote unquote best way to support someone who have lost someone dear to them. Now, some people want to carry on their legacy, such as with Charlie Kirk's wife, widow Erika. She wants to carry on her late husband's legacy, even though she's still grieving and needing to support her two children. Now, hopefully, she's not being pressured to put on an image of the quote unquote strong woman that needs to be back up on her feet the next day. Because let's just say that's not healthy at all. Right?
Turk did that interview with Megyn Kelly, he said that at the time he didn't know Erika very well, but that when Erika got to the hospital, she spoke to the surgeons, she got to see Charlie's body, and she went over to Frank and she was comforting him. Erika was comforting Frank, not the other way around. And while she was comforting Frank Turek, she told him that she will continue Charlie's legacy.
How did she do it? How is she that strong a person? Did you know that before this?
No, I didn't know it. In my life, I've spent very little time with Erika. Charlie introduced me a few times, hello, that kind of thing. We were at that hospital for probably 6 or 7 hours after the murder. I would say Erika got there maybe 3 hours after the murder, something like that. And of course, she had to have a long talk with the surgeons, and then she had to go see Charlie. And when she was done with Charlie and we were about to head out, we were changing cities, essentially. And of course, Mikey arranged it all. She came out into the hallway and I was just standing there. I was standing in scrubs for, well, you can imagine why. I couldn't wear my clothes. And she saw me and just came up to me and she said, he loved you. And he was doing what he loved to do when he died. And we just hugged one another and then...
She's comforting you.
Yeah, I know. I was like... And then she said something about making sure her husband's legacy continued. And
in the moment, she was cognizant of that.
In the moment, she had just seen Charlie dead. She comes downstairs.
Again!
It's basically, let's go.
So she rushes to the hospital because her husband has been killed. She sees his body. She signs the death certificate. She does all the next of kin stuff, talks to the doctors. And her immediate reaction was to go to Frank Turek and give a pep talk about the future of TPUSA.
She comes downstairs. It's basically, let's go.
It's heartless.
Now, either Erika is a very strong woman personally, or Erika felt the pressure to put on a quote-unquote very strong woman image. Now that she actually has to take over Charlie Kirk's position at TPUSA, she might have felt the pressure to put on a quote-unquote strong image, like she got this and that Charlie's death is, not to be something to be concerned about, or that his organization was be in safe hands. I don't know. It seems like she's trying to put on that image or something like that.
I don't think we are crazy for not accepting all of these things are just coincidence.
I don't believe in coincidences.
This is not new information, but I just want to remind you guys of a coincidence that we were all told to accept. The night before Charlie was killed, we know that in his WhatsApp group chat, there was a Zoom meeting that was set up. Rabbi Walicki was in the group chat and on the Zoom call, and according to Wikipedia, Walicki was born in the US, spent his childhood in Canada, and as an adult, he moved to Israel, where he currently lives with his family. Rabbi Walicki is a Zionist, and he is the executive director of Israel 365, an organization that's core mission is to advocate for Israel. They also arrange educational trips for people to go to Israel. He says he was a friend of Charlie, but he gives the impression of being more of a handler.
But we talked through how to talk about why is Israel actually an American interest? Why is it in America's interest to support Israel? And I don't think he was convinced by some of the arguments that I was making. I was just sort of sharing different approaches to it, but not just approaches that I think or that Israelis think or that the Israeli government thinks, but more like working with Charlie to formulate a position that he'd be comfortable with. He believed in the open marketplace of ideas, which is why he annoyed people like you and me by platforming Tucker Carlson and whoever else, because for Charlie, the idea that you're supposed to silence any opinion was anathema. But that came from a place of truth-seeking. Do I think he went too far with it? Well, yes, we often... For all of us, our best traits we often have to a fault. His struggles politically, meaning if that wasn't there anchoring him with a positive orientation towards Israel, he probably would have been, I shouldn't say probably, he undoubtedly would have been much further along into the anti-Israel camp, with whom he shared a lot of opinions, and that's where he annoyed people in the Jewish community over the last few months with some of the criticisms he had for Israel.
I don't know about you, but TPUSA is an American conservative student movement. What I think of when I hear of the word American is the Bill of Rights, the US Constitution, the men who planted the seeds of freedom, quote unquote, and the people who paid with their lives to uphold what it means to live in the land of the free, and the people who saw injustice and stood their ground. Like, all those things are worth conserving so that future generations can go, America's not perfect, but at least we are brave enough to fix it. Which is a very unique trait of a culture from what I observe, alright? Because most countries / cultures would prefer not to confront their ugly past. Some go as far as to hide it from their own history books. So, what does American conservatism have to do with Israel is beyond me at this point.
Hammer was also in the group chat and on the Zoom call. He's a political commentator, he's a Jewish Zionist, and he kind of looks like the fat version of Ben Shapiro if Ben Shapiro's eyebrows would cooperate with his face. Kevin Freeman was also supposed to be on the Zoom call, but for some reason he didn't attend.
You and I were supposed to be talking on a Zoom call, actually, the day that he was shot, and I was supposed to have been on a Zoom call with Charlie the night before.
Andrew Covett was also said to be in the Zoom meeting and the group chat, as well as some other people. But we were told that the Zoom meeting happened because they were just coaching Charlie on how to address criticisms of Israel. Charlie simply needed help with his talking points, and so they were giving him guidance. According to Candace, that day, Charlie had been texting people saying, "They are going to kill me." A few hours after that, a Zoom call was arranged with a bunch of pro-Israel figures, and they want us to believe that the Zoom call was a love fest where they were just helping Charlie prepare for his event the next day, his event at UVU. Although Rabbi Wolicki contradicted this when he said that the meeting was combative.
What I was quoted as saying in that New York Post article, which is totally accurate, when that reporter asked me what the mood of the meeting was, and I said it was combative. Meaning I wasn't saying that as a kind of like, again, like a eulogy or praise. I was basically saying that was, he was really grappling with these issues.
And immediately after the Zoom call, Josh Hammer managed to find a tweet from Trump that was over 12 years old about public executions, and he then retweeted it, calling it based. And the day Charlie was killed, once again, he tweeted public execution. And in the group chat from the day before the UVU event, Josh Hammer says, "Say hi to your Antifa friends." And we know that in the days after Charlie Kirk was killed, they were trying to link his death to Antifa. And they want us to believe that all of that is a coincidence.
I don't believe in coincidences.
As many of you know, the crime scene was paved over very quickly after the killing of Charlie Kirk, and the company that did it was a company called Hardscape Utah. The man who owns the company is a man named Daniel Morel, and recently Daniel Morel did a podcast where he discussed what happened when he was contacted to do the job. Take a look.
I'm at home with my family, and I get a call, and I don't answer my phones on Sunday. They left a message, and the gentleman said, "Hey, this is kind of weird," and he was kind of hemming and hawing on the phone.
This was 5 days later then?
Yes.
You said it was on Sunday? Okay.
Yeah, on Sunday. And he says, "We've got a paver emergency." I'm like, the hell is
when the hell's a paver emergency?
Exactly,
yeah,
right? I'm thinking, this guy's, what the hell? I wasn't going to even respond because I don't typically do that, but I'm like, paver emergency. Part of my MO is I like to be useful. So I texted the guy, I said, "Look, I don't work on Sundays. My guys don't work on Sundays. I'm happy to call you on Monday. What's a paver emergency?" So he sends me pictures of right where Charlie was murdered. He says, "We need to put pavers in this place." So I called him, and the guy seemed like a genuine good dude. He says, "Look, we don't have a whole lot of answers. We're told by, people above us that we've got to put pavers in, today and tomorrow. It needs to be in by Monday. And we've never done pavers. We've never installed them. And we want to make sure we do it right." And he says, "Would you come help?" I said, 100%. Put together this ragtag team, of guys that we showed up on that Sunday, within an hour and a half of when they called us. There wasn't a whole lot of information. There was two guys that were kind of in charge.
So by this point, it's all dug up and everything.
Everything's
what did it look like?
I've got pictures. I could give you pictures of exactly when I showed up. I took pictures of what it looked like. They had taken out about 10 inches of the dirt around the whole place. One of the guys was in charge of a state-owned facility in American Fork, and the other guy was a maintenance groundskeeper on a facility in Provo. And these are the two guys I'm corresponding with. The second guy that I hadn't talked to on the phone basically said, hey, look, we're not talking to anybody. We're not saying anything to the media. He says this is above our pay grade. The FBI and the state, the governor and the FBI, that's what they told me. The governor and the FBI said they want this done by Monday and we need to get it done. We're not asking questions. We're not talking to the media. And so I said, okay. A few people had kind of accused me of being a part of the cover-up. And I thought, so I started watching the videos. I started getting on Facebook and I'm like, well, fuck. Maybe I was. Fuck's sake.
What do you guys think? Do you believe that he was an unknowing, useful idiot of sorts? Or do you believe that there is more to the story? Let me know your thoughts below. If you liked this video and you'd like to see more like it, I will have 2 more videos for you in the end cards. I will see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.
Alright, that's the end of the video. Now, whatever you think about Charlie Kirk's political views is irrelevant to this video. Now, some of you may be enjoying the collapse of TPUSA. Some of you may be worried about the future of TPUSA. Now, regardless of what you guys think, it's the person who founded an organization, and the organization is made of people who put aside their other differences to come work together and, get this big thing they agree on done, for example. So it is understandable that it is extremely difficult to separate an organization from its founder. It is also extremely difficult to carry on after one of its founders met his untimely departure from this earth, which might explain why Erika is behaving the way she is. She felt pressured to put on a quote-unquote strong image like her late husband is, so as to reassure the followers or volunteers at TPUSA that the organization is in safe hands, which might ironically make people feel less secure, as it might look like she's putting on an image, which is unsustainable. Let's just put it like that. Now, eventually, Erika will have to create her own identity as the chair of the TPUSA organization and stand on her own 2 feet. If not, she'll not be able to maintain the legacy of Charlie as the chair of TPUSA. She'll not be able to take the mantle from Charlie and carry it on. Alright? She'll have to create her own identity or risk TPUSA falling apart. That's what I think. So let me know what you think down below. Leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.